I'm going to tell you a story that happened to me a few years ago and still leaves me very scared. I've been a hunter for many years and have seen many strange things in the forest, but nothing like this. I was hunting at night, as usual, with my dog Rex. He's a great companion and always helps me find prey. That night, I was following the tracks of a deer that seemed quite big and healthy. I was almost catching up to it when Rex started growling softly. I thought he might have smelled another animal, but when I looked to where he was looking, I saw something that sent shivers down my spine. It was an old woman walking through the forest, without any flashlight and wearing old clothes. She looked very thin and pale, with long white hair. She wasn't wearing shoes, and her feet were dirty with dirt. She didn't seem to notice our presence, not even Rex, who kept growling louder and louder. She just kept walking through the forest, with no apparent direction. I was paralyzed, not knowing what to do. Who was that woman? What was she doing there? Was she lost or ill? I thought about calling out to her, but something told me it was better not to. I felt a chill down my spine and an irrational fear of approaching her. I decided to continue hunting, but that stayed in my mind, disturbing me. I don't know if it was a hallucination or reality, but I know it was the scariest thing I've ever seen in my life. I've always enjoyed hunting. It's a hobby that brings me peace and satisfaction. I like feeling the adrenaline of pursuing prey, aiming carefully, and hitting the target. I know many people don't understand it, but there was one day I regretted going out to hunt. It was the day I saw the black deer. I was in a forest I knew well, having hunted there many times before. I had my shotgun, ready to take down any animal that crossed my path. I walked calmly, attentive to the sounds and movements of nature. That's when I saw it. A huge deer, with fur as black as night, and imposing antlers on its head. It stood still, about 50 meters away from me, staring directly at me. It was an impressive sight. I had never seen anything like it. I didn't hesitate. I raised my shotgun and aimed at the deer's chest. It was a precise shot, I was sure of it. But something stopped me from pulling the trigger. Something in that deer's gaze. It was a deep, penetrating look, almost human. It stared at me as if it knew what I was about to do, as if it challenged me to do it. I was paralyzed, unable to look away from its eyes. I felt a chill down my spine, a strange sensation that I was doing something wrong, something forbidden. I didn't know what that deer was, whether it was a normal animal or something more. I don't know how long we stayed like that, staring at each other. It felt like an eternity. Until it moved, slowly, and turned its back to me. It walked gracefully into the forest, without looking back. I stood there, with no reaction, unsure of what to do. I lowered the shotgun and felt a cold sweat on my forehead. I was confused. I continued hunting that day, but I couldn't bring down any other animal. I had no more will, no concentration. I could only think of the black deer. I went home that night, but I couldn't sleep. I had nightmares about the black deer. It chased me in the forest, it attacked me with its antlers, and the weirdest thing is that it spoke to me in a language I didn't understand. I woke up sweating and screaming, scaring my wife and children. They asked me what happened, but I didn't tell them anything. I said it was just a bad dream. But it wasn't just a dream. It was a memory. A memory that haunted me for months. I never went back to that forest. I was never the same again. I don't know what that black deer was. I don't know if it was real or if it was a hallucination. I never thought I would go through such a scary situation in my life. I've always enjoyed hunting, but after what happened, I swore never to enter a forest alone again. It all started one autumn afternoon when I decided to go after a deer I had seen near a stream. I grabbed my rifle, backpack, and machete and followed the animal's trail. I was confident it would be an easy and quick hunt. But I was wrong. After a few hours of tracking the deer, I came across a mountain lion. It was slowly walking among the trees, unaware of me. It seemed to be hunting, perhaps the same deer I had seen. I was paralyzed with fear. I knew that if I shot at it, I could attract other predators or scare off the deer, or miss the mountain lion and have it come after me. I also knew that if I ran, it could chase and attack me from behind. I didn't have many options. I decided to hide behind a tree and wait for it to move away. But it didn't. It stayed there, sitting and staring into the forest, as if waiting for the right moment to pounce on something it couldn't see. I shivered as it looked directly at me while I watched it. It noticed my presence and started looking in my direction. The sun was setting by now, and the forest was getting darker. I knew this was bad for me because the mountain lion had better night vision than I did. I started thinking of a plan to escape the situation. I remembered my mother always saying that an animal only attacks if you threaten it first. I slowly reached for my backpack and unzipped it. I searched for the flashlight carefully, trying not to make any noise. I found it and turned it on. The mountain lion was startled by the light and backed off a bit. I took this chance and ran in the opposite direction. I heard the mountain lion roar behind me and felt its steps getting closer. I ran as fast as I could, without looking back. I stumbled over branches, rocks, and roots but didn't stop running. After a few minutes of desperate running, I saw an abandoned cabin ahead. I ran to it, entered through the door, and closed it behind me. The mountain lion slammed into the door, and I held it panting, sweating, and trembling. I heard the mountain lion scratching the door from outside. It tried to break in but couldn't. It seemed quite irritated. I was relieved, but I also knew I wasn't safe there. The mountain lion could linger around the cabin until dawn. It was already dark, and the dense forest didn't help. I wouldn't risk leaving. I couldn't sleep that night. I stayed awake, listening to the sounds of the forest, sometimes peeking through a small window in the old house to see if the mountain lion was outside. I could have used the rifle, but I didn't see it, yet I also didn't trust going out. I prayed the mountain lion wouldn't come in through the hole in the roof. I regretted going hunting alone and not shooting the animal. When the sun rose, I saw that the mountain lion had gone. I didn't know if it had given up on me or found another prey. I just knew I had to get out of there as soon as possible. I packed my things and cautiously left the cabin. I looked around and saw no sign of the mountain lion. I took a deep breath and started walking through the forest, looking for a trail that would lead me back. I walked for hours without stopping. I was tired, hungry, and injured. I finally reached where I had parked my car. I never went back to that forest again. I never saw a mountain lion again in my life. I will tell a story that happened to me a few years ago, but still haunts me to this day. I know many of you won't believe it, but I swear it's true. I was a hunter at the time, and I liked to go out at night to hunt wild animals. One night, I managed to shoot down a deer with a precise shot. I was happy with my catch, but soon realized I wasn't alone in the forest. I heard howls nearby, and I was afraid of being attacked by wolves. I hid behind a large tree and waited for them to leave. But what I saw next terrified me. Something was eating the deer I had killed. But it wasn't an ordinary wolf. It was a huge, hairy creature with sharp teeth and enormous claws. It looked like a wolf, but I swear I saw the wolf walking on two legs like a person. It devoured the deer quickly. I felt a chill down my spine and was paralyzed with fear. It didn't take more than 10 minutes, and it had devoured half of the deer. The only thing I could do was wait for it to leave. I didn't think my shotgun would have any effect on it, and I didn't want to share the deer's fate. After a short time, the creature ran off into the trees, and I breathed a sigh of relief as it ran in the opposite direction of where I was. I didn't waste any time and hurried back to my car as fast as possible. I avoid talking about it because people think I'm crazy or lying. But I know what I saw.